My name is Peter Boeckel. I'm an industrial designer, originally from Germany. Currently live in California, San Francisco. I have been working over the last 15 years across the globe. Various industries from electronics, furniture, fitness equipment, startup, corporate, robotics, everything almost. And I have, during my time, earned about 15 to 20 design awards. And the later half of my career, I've been actively more and more engaging in the education sector, teaching, mentoring, but also becoming quite interested in how do we shape future course structures to prepare what's ahead. So throughout this time, or throughout my time at the campus, we have been engaging in workshops, masterclass formats, office hours, Q&As, we had panel discussions. And I've been witnessing a very engaged crowd, a very broad set of questions from very unexpected to very predictable, all somewhere design oriented, but also questions about life and how to navigate life eventually, for which I think a design career is actually a great vehicle. Yeah, that was indeed quite interesting. We had our first day, and I think we had just finished a panel discussion, which was around the future of design and how we think design is going to develop. It was myself and two other. I found myself at night after dinner in the mess hall, and I was quote unquote cornered by students and their laptops. And I found myself in a sort of ad hoc portfolio review, which was quite engaging, surely tiring after having had 10 hours of engagement. But I could feel the energy of students pulling out their laptops and asking or dragging me to their machines and, asking me to comment on their work that have been done. And it was a wide discussion ranging from potential vacuum cleaners to tripods, and you could feel the energy. Everybody was excited to see, and maybe also to get feedback from somebody who has worked has worked in a global context and has eventually seen different cultures, how they eventually work and innovate. So yeah, that was a great moment, and I think it showed some of the drive that eventually students bring when they start to engage in a potential design. I did the masterclass that I gave was a 2-hour lecture as well as call it engagement, right? Where students also have to do something. And this particular talk was focused about giving exposure how broad a design career can be. And I used my own career as an example. That started in Germany with me studying in Germany, but never really actually working in Germany, going immediately to Asia, growing up in Asia as in a professional sense, and walking through all the steps of my career together with the students, having everybody engaged, but not just showing the work that you do, but just giving a bandwidth or giving a feel for a bandwidth of different types of work you do, the different unique projects. So basically, design school is only preparing you for so much. It prepares you for the first doorstep, and that's your first job. But then equally important, and that's to me personally very important, after each career step, right? We paused and we summarized, what did I learn here, as well as what challenges did I face and how did I react? So how did I grow myself on this, on an emotional level, as a meditator, on a spiritual level eventually, right? So how did I engage, and how does it eventually also help me to navigate through some of these challenges? Because you grow in your career, you grow your skills, you grow your professional demeanor, but you also have to grow yourself alongside, and nobody's teaching you this but yourself. And I believe this is equally important. I think whenever I talk with students about emotional nature that we have to bring to the table, and the maintaining of our emotions and just sorting ourselves out, right? You see that the engagement goes up dramatically, and good questions come from that. Questions that range from, how does my meditation practice help me with my creativity, right? From all the way, how do I avoid burnout? I think those are interesting questions that are coming from a 16, 17-year-old potential student. I'm quite glad that we get these type of questions, because you see there is already an engagement with the inner self. And a design course is a stressful course, but it's also a very fulfilling course. So the earlier I think young folks sort this out, the much better time to have later on. When you come out of university, again, as I said, it's only as good to prepare you for to get to that first job, and eventually it helps you to sort out the next learning steps. But I think my first advice was never stop learning. The moment you surrender to learning, you surrender to life. It's basically giving up, right? life forces you to learn constantly all the time. At some point, you even have to learn how to sleep. So I think as you continue to learn, you eventually you have to learn how to learn again, because you have to learn different things, and there's eventually no teacher, there's less guidance. So you have to self-learn. As designers, we always have to work ourselves into new tools, but most common thing is we have to work ourselves constantly into new projects, right? Constantly new project, bodies of knowledge we have to absorb. So it's always input and output. That's constantly, and it helps our minds to get trained. But I mentioned tools. I think we have to get just comfortable with learning new tools, as software tools, mental tools, skills. For some that is easier, for some that is eventually harder. So that only speaks to how much energy you have to put in. But I think that is essential. And I think in the future, and it speaks a little bit more to what is the future of design education, and as well as what is the future of design on the job. We're seeing a new wave of tools, or we're seeing a new wave of technology approaching that will lead to new tools, right? We have now generative systems that have a vastly different interface. I speak to them or type in language and I'm getting an A output. It's not perfect yet, but we can already anticipate where this is going. So I believe we're seeing probably the biggest paradigm shift ahead after the introduction of computers or computer-aided software or computer-aided design. And I think this will translate back into what do we have to teach and what do we have to educate design students on, right? Think a future 10 years. What do you teach in university? And generative AI is delivering most of the stuff. I think that's an interesting question education has to solve, particularly higher education. When I got to the campus, I was quite surprised. It's a fairly new campus. It's shiny. It's still also building, so it's going to get big. It's going to get bigger, which is great too. The facilities are modern and on point. I mentioned the mess hall where I was hijacked by students. The way Rishi Hood is developing, and I think the steps it will take in the future to become even more relevant for the future, I think they're the right steps. And I think it will be a great place to study design, but not just design, to also study cross-functional eventually and transdisciplinary, and to get an education that prepares you very well of what the future of India will be.